So you're hearing Sarah call out some more of the seal check there as she's exiting out.
It's reseated.
SpaceX copies that report. Good fix.
So this was something we knew might happen. And
it's
Sarah,
between 28 and 27.
Copy.
The crew trained on exactly what to do in this scenario. Just pop it back in.
And
Reseat
one
it.
final between 19 and 18. That might be best reseated with hatch closure.
SpaceX copies. Can you repeat the location?
After EVA complete. Between 19 and 18.
All right, copy. I'll track that and ask again when you're ingress.
Copy. EV2 is proceeding with egress.
Super exciting to see this. Our fellow SpaceXer, Sarah Gillis, now about to make her spacewalk.
EV1, I'm going to hand this back to you.
Like we mentioned, Sarah will be performing the same set of mobility tests, so we will do the same. Try to stand by and listen to those comms.
I mean, I said it before, a lot of us work here because we want to do this.
All right, stepping into test matrix 1 for single-handed mobility.
Really cool to see one of our own out there. That's awesome.
And EV2 for awareness, we're watching from the nose cone.
Copy all. I would say in all three translation axes, I'm having certainly cross-coupled movements. Forward, back, I am inducing a bit of a roll. Similarly with left, right, and up, down, a bit of a pitch. But all are achievable rating of 3. Yaw is a 3. Roll is a 4. And pitch is a 3. Source to left hand, stepping into vertical translation.
SpaceX copies. And EV2 for awareness, we're tracking an ingress time at O2 flow, 5-9 minutes.
Copy, 5-9 minutes. horizontal bars are definitely preferred. And I'm adequately able to stabilize my body with single-hand disturbances. Clear for both left and right. Stepping into max reach, do you have visual?
Affirm, we have visual on the nose cone.
Copy from bar 4 to bar 2, from top down. And similar reach from bar 2 up to bar 4.
SpaceX copies reach.
And EVA test matrix 1 complete. Sea pressure 5.25, 33.8 Celsius, 37% humidity.
SpaceX copies HUD readout and test matrix 1 complete.
Copy, stepping into test matrix 2.
Like we mentioned before, views going in and out due to those ground station coverage gaps.
Yeah, we comms are
Some of the same.
comms are through satellites, but we've got ground stations for video on Dragon. As you can see in the tracker, we just flew over on New Zealand. We're about to go right over the middle of the Pacific. No ground stations in the middle of the Pacific.
Forward are actually pretty good.
We're hearing the voice of mission specialist Sarah Gillis, our fellow SpaceXer on her spacewalk.
She's got about a minute left, and then she's going to start heading inside.
And SpaceX with a little more work, they can actually get between almost bar 1 and bar 4 on max reach.
SpaceX copies.
And you could see the Earth dark, and we flew into like an orbital.
All right, and test matrix 2, kind of combine them, so we'll call that complete. Sea pressure 5.27, 38% humidity, 33.7 Celsius.
SpaceX copies matrix complete and HUD.
On the outlook for your next rental home, seal the deal with nobroker.com. With 70,000 plus houses rented out monthly on zero brokerage and with a dedicated relationship manager for end-to-end assistance, finding your perfect rental home has never been easier. Don't keep waiting. Get owner contacts now on nobroker.com.
But I need some more. My crew gonna wipe the floor. You're gonna weep when I shut the door. Your antics make me bored, cause I just came around to say hello.
We're going to ingress. Please check for ingress.
EV1's good.
EV2's good.
Good.
14 good. Copy. Coming on in.
All right, and just like that, Sarah's going to start making her way in. Check those hatch seals again.
SpaceX copies on tracker plates. And EV2, I have one more ask for the hatch, if you can check that out as well when ready to copy.
Ready? What do you copy?
Copy. And EV2, what I'll have you do is, when you ingress, can you get eyes on the hatch handle mechanism and see if the handle has been stowed in the do not stow window, and report if you can see that?
Check it. think it's just outside.
Copy, just outside. Thank you.
Just outside the range. And for awareness, I do see a couple of those same points bulging again between 12 and 13.
Copy, your go to this.
Yeah, mostly between 12 and 13 right now.
SpaceX copies at 12. If you can, your go to address those.
Copy and work.
These numbers being called out represent the location around. Yeah, the location around the circular hatch, just identifying where these bulges are. So Sarah's now reseating that seal.
Not quite able to reach the back one, so we'll proceed with clearing for hatch closure.
Just like that, we're already hearing about hatch closure. It's incredible that these two EVAs, just in 2 blinks of the eyes, are...
EV2 is clear of hatch space.
2 checks.
On your screen there is SpaceX Core, or Crew Operations and Resource Engineer. On duty tonight is Arthur Berrialt. This is the voice to the crew throughout their operations. Of course, you know, everyone has to sleep, so we have different shifts for Core. But Mike, your time in Dragon.
Driving close. You're good?
Copy. Deploying handle. Applying force. And closing.
Once we get ground station coverage, again, we will be sure to bring you views within the Dragon capsule. But right now, Sarah is closing the forward hatch.
It sounds like we might give the motor a try.
Please confirm the hatch is visually indicating closed.
And hatch is verified latch.
Okay, command and EVA hatch closed. EVA hatch closed. All Dracos enabled.
Dragon SpaceX, we see EVA hatch closed and pressure indicates good hatch seal. Stand by for transition to EVA repress 1.
And EV1 copies. Everyone check secondary O2 valve closed.
Copy.
And then support 1, I'm good. EV1 closed.
EV2 closed.
4-1 closed.
14 closed.
So a couple of real big moments right there. Sarah was able to make sure.
SpaceX, we
We're in
copy.
EVA repress 1.
We copy secondary flow is closed and agree. EVA repress 1.
She was able to make sure that the seals were in good spot. We got the hatch closed. You
Okay,
can
crew,
see
we're out of a half PSI for 8.3.
the pressure starting to tick up.
Just a final confirmation. Everyone confirm secondary O2 valves are closed. EV1's closed.
EV2 closed.
4 closed.
14 closed.
Copy that. And we're through 1 for 8.3.
All right, so each of the crew just closed those secondary O2 valves on their umbilicals. Again, that was primarily for cooling. During the spacewalk itself, the suit's still pressurized by that primary. And now we're going to start to see the pressure tick up inside of Dragon. Right after they get the hatch closed, they're able to do kind of an initial pressure check because, again, oxygen, it's an open loop system with these suits still flowing into the cabin. You're able to see positive pressure response showing that the cabin, the hatch was closed and was sealed. We'll still do a leak check on our way kind of back up to our nominal cabin pressure. So we're going to continue ticking up until we're about 8.3 psi, and then we're going to transition into the second phase of our repress. Really the difference between repress 1 repress 2 is how frequently we're injecting atmosphere, as kind of the repress is also pretty unique with Dragon. We're repressurizing with just nitrogen right now, which is a little bit unique. Obviously, you have nitrogen and oxygen in your atmosphere. With this, we have O2 flowing into the cabin through the suits, so we only need to add nitrogen. So we're able to just basically add a bunch of that to really start getting your pressure up. O2 continues to flow into the cabin through the suits, and we're going to continue pressurizing until we're pretty much right back at our 14. Right at about our 14 or so PSI. And we're also looking at what the partial pressure of oxygen is, because we want to make sure the crew takes helmets off and everything, that plenty of oxygen in the cabin. And then we're going to change that injection rate to just help with the mixing. Is microgravity, everything's harder, everything's on hard mode, and you don't just have natural convection. So, space station, I think I've heard it a bunch of times, Mike, you just constant noise of fans.
That's right.
Almost.
Yeah, there's you've got to continually recycle that air, and one, to help get rid of the CO2, right? Because as they're taking in that oxygen, they're breathing out the CO2, and we need to get that out of the system, which is another important reason to have that air constantly circulating.
Yeah. Man, that felt really quick.
It did.
That was really cool to see them outside for the first time. And what they were actually doing out there is a bunch of pretty simple tests as it looked, but this is just learning how the heck do you move, because just moving around in microgravity is tough.
It is tough.
Dragon SpaceX, we're about 2.5 minutes from Tedra's handover.
Around when you're in your short sleeves like we're inside the capsule, and when you put on that spacesuit, it's much more challenging to move around with that on.
Yeah, and what they were really doing was just kind of you put your hand on Skywalker, and then you're changing your pitch, you're doing translation up and down and everything. And then the one that I think is kind of cool is max reach, because just going like that is not easy.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things I thought was interesting is you heard, I think it was Sarah, talk about the horizontal rail versus the vertical, and how much easier that was for her to grab onto or utilize versus the vertical one. So simple things like that, for us, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But out there in the vacuum and in the microgravity environment, it does become a much bigger deal.
And Dan and I, we've never been in space, so we certainly appreciate all of your expertise that you'd be able to share with us throughout this morning's operations, and contributing your 2 cents. Yeah,
no, thank you. It was great to be here. Just an incredible moment, not only for the Polaris Dawn, for all of SpaceX, and really for humanity, because it's just one of those small steps that's taken us that much closer to being that interplanetary species. So thank you very much for having me around.
Our pleasure. You're welcome back anytime.
Excellent. All right.
Good to see you, Hopper.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right, so repress is continuing. We're a little over 4 PSI right now. Again, we're going to keep that going up until we're a little over 8, and then we're going to change our repress rate. We're basically just going to be injecting nitrogen for shorter periods of time. That's just going to help that atmosphere mix as we get the crew kind of back up to their normal cabin atmosphere that they haven't actually been at for the last couple of days, because we started this whole process right after we got on orbit. Yeah, it was almost like we launched them and gave them 2 seconds to acclimate and enjoy their cute 0G indicator, and immediately stepped into the pre-breathe in order to prepare for today's activity. And really, like you said, let them acclimate and let their bodies adjust. And, the success of that really
was demonstrated today by the fact that we were able to step through all of the steps today without having to take the optional and available breaks to allow the crew members to adjust during. Oh, sorry, I thought we were going to get something there.
Yeah, we're
box
getting
coming in.
The Tidris in and out,
Yeah.
so like we'll get it back. But.
So yeah, just the fact that the all 4 crew members were able to just go right along and didn't have to pause as the option was available, I think it's a testament to the preparation that they did before and during.
Drop check, ED1 kid.
ED2 kid.
All good. Part 2 kid.
Just heard a quick check-in from them, so we're going to keep counting the PSI up until we get to about 8. We are going to do another leak check on the way up to our nominal cabin pressure. As you introduce atmosphere, you're introducing temperature changes, not just pressure changes, and so we'll get to a nice, pretty stable point when we're at 8, and then we'll let it hang out there for a couple of minutes, let the thermals kind of cancel out. That'll take about 5 minutes to do that. This obviously has to be done to make sure we've got a really tight seal with that hatch, as before we let crew get out of their seats, move about the cabin, anything like that, want to make sure Dragon is fully recovered. We just use Dragon as an airlock.
Yeah, and actually the info that you were talking about, you see it there on your screen live with that telemetry there in the bottom left and bottom right hand corners. We can see the Dragon capsule and the suit pressures continuing to rise. It is incredible that we've only been in the EVA for 1 hour and 13 minutes. It flew by so quickly.
6 on cabin pressure, approaching 1 PSI on PCO2.
I'm sure for Jared and Sarah, it flew by even quicker.
Yeah. We just heard Jared call down. We're coming up on 1 PSI for PPO2. So what we're really tracking before we give the crew the go to get out of their suits is both the actual, like just the straight up, what the absolute pressure is inside, but also what the partial pressure of oxygen is. We want to make sure you don't have a hypoxic environment inside. Basically, you want to get them. They're going to be pretty much right back at the atmosphere that we're walking around in right now before they get their suits off. Our EVA clock's going to continue to count until we hear the call for EVA operations complete from our core, Arthur Barialt. That's going to come once we are done with the repress operation. We'll see a couple of other things happen with the suits. They'll do kind of a final washout of the Puro 2 environment in the suit using nitrox before they get out.
Nitrox being that same air mixture that you have in your scuba tank. If you've got any scuba divers out there, that nitrogen-oxygen mixture. Nope, still just air.
They're just going to keep psyching you out. We should hopefully be getting video back from ground stations.
SpaceX. Passing 7. Stand by for transition to repress 2 at 8.3.
Okay, copy that, SpaceX. We're following along. Repress 2 at 8.3.
Yeah, so once we transition to repress 2, once we're at about 8.3 PSI, we'll stay there for about 2 minutes. And then once the cabin gets up to 9, we're going to pause the repress and we're going to do a cabin leak check. This is another kind of critical check. We did the initial one after they closed the hatch, where you're able to do just kind of a, let's look at the pressure. Is it increasing at the rate we expect inside Dragon? Yes, it is. And so we were able to confirm that seals and everything looked good. We're going to do another leak check now that we've got more pressure inside Dragon, just to really make sure that we've got a good seal on that hatch before we finish the operation. Coming up on 8.3. We should be hopefully just about a minute and a half or so away from ground station, so might get those views back inside of Dragon.
Yeah. it would be great to see them post EVA. Now, just like when we were depressurizing the capsule, there was the option to pause.
EVA refresh 2. Crew ops check, EV1 good.
We're good.
And yeah, that comms that we're hearing.
About a half PSI before we get to the leak check.
Dragon SpaceX with you, monitoring for leak check at 9 PSI.
For the continual checks with all 4 crew members to make sure that everyone is good. If the answer to one of those checks was no, there would be an option in this repress sequence to pause, possibly to reduce the, allow for ear pressure equalization. But again, just like the way that we depressurized, now this repress, it seems to be going really smoothly.
Yeah, we're just about at 9. I'm going to say we're almost there, and then it's going to tick up. But we're going to pause at 9, and we're going to do another cabin leak check. So we should hear that momentarily.
All right, we're in EVA refresh 2, stop.
Dragon SpaceX with you in EVA repress 2, stop.
Starting
Waiting 5 minutes for thermal stabilization.
And we're copy that SpaceX. We're tracking. And crew for your awareness is your positive refresh rate. We're 30 seconds into the recheck.
Like we mentioned earlier, right now this repress is being done with nitrogen. Once we get
your awareness, PPO2 is 1.35, halfway there.
They're still flowing that oxygen, and in a few minutes we will begin to flow. We'll do a flush of nitrox into the suits. All right, we got our views back.
There they are.
It's a little sad to see that forward hatch closed again.
It's got to be really hard when they tell you it's time to go back in.
Yeah.
Just one more minute.
Yep. It reminds me of when I was a kid swimming in the pool. Time to get out. Just one more minute.
I mean, it speaks to the professionalism for Jared, for Sarah, for the whole crew, really.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be this is something they've been training for years. And it's got to be really hard not to go for those, that extra 30 seconds. But they're true professionals.
Yep. They know there's a timeline.
We're 2 minutes into the 8-minute leak check. Crew ops check. One's good. One good.
What you good?
PPO2 just passed 1.5.
We're a couple minutes into our leak check. You're seeing the pressure continue to tick up. We've stopped the nitrogen injections, but again, oxygen coming out of essentially a vent line on those suits, and that is why you're going to continue to see the pressure tick up. You heard Jared call out the PPO2. That's gone up. That's your partial pressure of oxygen. We're looking for that to get to over about 2.6, a little bit higher, and then our final actual just ambient pressure inside Dragon is going to be right around 14.4 or so. And I mean, that's a little bit lower than what we're walking around in now, but if you're at a little higher altitude state in the country or something, that's what you might be sitting in right now in your house. And they haven't been at that pressure since they left her.
Yeah.
But after we get all the way up there, we're going to do kind of a final flush of the suits using that nitrox that Kay was talking about. That takes them out of that pure oxygen environment, and that's one of the final steps before we'll hear that call from Arthur of EVA operations complete, and that's when our clock's going to stop. Our spacewalk did start today at Spacewalks are really a core component of human spaceflight.
While EVAs are well-established procedures for NASA and other space agencies, this will be the first spacewalk using commercially developed hardware and procedures